Okay, so listen, and bear with me on this one, because there's a lot that's said about Ronaldo recently, and I think that the guy needs a little bit of a break. I think he needs to try to understand how I try and see Ronaldo. So, over the last
Sorry, did you draw that on my book?
Yeah, of course I did. Of course I did.
Honestly, that working with a child. Go on.
What do you think of the detail?
Christ, that's why I need a bigger telly.
Good detail, though,
It
isn't
is
it?
good detail, yeah.
God, you may put me on a printer now.
Ronaldo.
Yeah, Ronaldo. So, look, in the last 8 or 9 months, this guy has gone through some personal tragedy, right? We know what happened when he lost his daughter, the twins. Yeah. And I think we need to bear that in mind. There's been a huge amount of change in his life. He scored. Do you know how many goals he scored last season for club and country?
I think it's a lot, isn't it?
Right, in 49 games.
Okay, well, I know for United he scored 24.
Right, so club and country. He's got 49 games for club and country last season. How many goals did he score? Look, it's big numbers we're talking here.
36.
31, right?
Okay.
So those numbers there, for club and country, when you're playing for Portugal, Man United, they are high numbers.
Yep.
So bearing in mind what he's been through on a personal level, now on a professional level, he's seen a new manager coming in, Erik ten Hag, and he's come in and clearly he doesn't fancy him. We saw that. And Ronaldo tried to force a move to a Champions League Cup. It didn't happen in the summer. And clearly his career is finding a very different path. And we saw recently in the interview done with Piers Morgan, a guy that clearly he sees himself in a different way to the way we see him.
No, I don't think I think he sees himself in the way we see him.
Right.
So we see him as an absolute superstar. He sees himself as that superstar.
Yes, he does. But what I'm saying is, he is almost superhuman. We're looking at someone now that has achieved some of the greatest things this game. He's now become the greatest goal scorer ever in terms of 5 World Cups.
Yeah.
No other man has ever scored 5 World Cups. He's done it this World Cup. He continues to break records. He's 37, 38 years of age. And his body is in unbelievable pristine condition. He is superhuman. He is like Superman. I described this the other week as saying it's like Superman finding out that he can't fly anymore, but he knows he can, or he believes he can. He can't see through walls. Yes, I can, because I'm going to do it at the World Cup. He keeps doing this. And he sees himself as, rightly or wrongly, that's how he got to the levels he has been still the top footballer at the highest level. By the way, do you know how many goals I scored last season? I scored 31 in 49 for club and country. Why aren't I in that team? Well, that's a very good argument. Now he's starting to see the demise, and he can't recognise, he can't see, he's slightly deluded because he sees himself as Ronaldo.
When he looks in the mirror, he sees the superstar.
Yes, and he still does, at certain times, produces those levels, and he's finding, we don't know what it's like to be Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, we never will know.
We have no idea. Now, going back to on a personal level, on a professional level, he's now, things have changed in his life. He's never had to deal with this.
I understand what you're saying, right? I understand. And the death of his child was just the most horrific thing ever for anyone to go through. And I will, of course, I can't come back to that, right? And that's a gimme. I get that. I agree with you. But with regards to the Piers Morgan interview, right? He's got enough people around him for them to say that's not a good idea. He should never have done that interview, right? He should never have done that interview.
But
you're not going to come out of that interview in a good light. You might think, because you're Cristiano Ronaldo and you think you're bulletproof, you might think
he's Superman, mate.
That's what I'm saying. I'm using your analogy, right? But there's enough people around him to go, listen, you won't come out of this well.
Yeah, but
don't do it, right? And then what happens on the back of it is people that sit on the fence like me, that go, I love Ronaldo. I sadly see Ronaldo now in a different light to the Ronaldo that played for my club both times, when we signed him as a teenager and when we signed him again recently.
I think we have to try and understand what he's going through. He doesn't see the demise that you do.
Do you feel sorry for him?
I do. I have a lot of sympathy for him. I've only kind of come round to this after the interview, during the interview that you done over 2 nights with Piers. We spoke about it. I genuinely feel that this guy still sees himself as the Ronaldo of when he was 25. He looks at the body.
He does.
He still believes he can do it. So, like I said, it's like Superman that's lost his cape, right? I can still give me my cape. I can fly. Play me. I'll score. Give me the chance, I'll do it. And he's slightly...
Deluded.
But that's what's made him the level. So we don't try and...
Yeah, but I find it... I look at it.
No, but
like when he walked out yesterday and he sat on the bench and there was untold photographers...
I know, but imagine that. See, he knows now, every time... So every camera, all the photographs I've seen on certain websites, it's always trying to get the Ronaldo of the sad face. trying to get him looking sad. He's done this. I feel for him because
but I don't have that problem that you do, because that Ronaldo that is in the spotlight, right? That Ronaldo also has the most amount of Instagram followers, so that means when he posts something on Instagram, he can charge copious amounts. So you can't demand
money for him.
No. But I'm saying you can't decide one day to have this following and cameras in your face, and the next day I don't want to. I don't want to appear on the internet with a sad face.
No. What I'm saying is though, but everyone now is looking. But it's the demise of Ronaldo. We're talking about it. We know it's happening. We can see it. We see it with our own eyes. He can't face it.
Okay.
Unfortunately for him, old Father Time is his kryptonite, and he's Superman. It's
a lot of Superman analogies going on.
But there are, because he is
cape, bulletproof, Father Time, kryptonite.
And his pants are in the washing machine. He got to get his big boy pants on.
Right. A newspaper in Portugal shows 70% of voters thought Ronaldo shouldn't start against the Swiss tonight. I mean, you heard Ronald de Boer earlier on speaking with Ali and Laura.
Yeah.
That no, if I was in charge of Portugal, he'd be on the bench. Do you think that's the right way to look at it? Has it become a huge distraction?
Well, he's not in charge of Portugal, so it's an irrelevance. The fellow that's in charge of Portugal is Santos, and he's called out the idea of Ronaldo is an enigma, and he's a challenge, and we've seen some of that. I don't know enough about Ronaldo's personality to say whether he's a difficult person to deal with or not. I do know that he has a very high opinion of himself, which has been based upon a very, very successful career, and of course he'll have that opinion. I do know what I saw in the interview with Piers Morgan, and some of it I thought was an absolute whine-a-thon and wasn't necessary, and was utilising an opportunity to create an outcome that he wanted. And he's doing the same things that he did when he was at Manchester United, which is not being happy about certain things, letting everybody know that he's not happy about it, and creating a story that involves him at the centre of it. And I don't know why he needs to do that, because he's such a unique individual. I am actually in the camp, and people won't like it, that I believe he's the greatest player that we've seen between the two of them, Messi and Ronaldo. I think he's better than Messi. Other people will disagree on that. It's about opinions. So I think from a football point of view, I think his credentials speak for themselves. I don't quite understand what the benefit of running a poll in a newspaper is to decide whether he plays or not. That's, to me, is always very divisive. It was done to Neil Lennon up in Scotland, and I didn't like it then when the Scottish newspapers did. I didn't think that was particularly clever, but that's how newspapers roll, and you have to roll with their headlines.
Well, it's obvious. They ask people what they think.
Well, newspapers, surely the title.
They're the consumers.
Surely the title is in the clues in the title. It's a newspaper. You're creating news. You're not reporting news, but we'll have a difference of opinion on that. We saw Portuguese fans whose first default setting was everybody else was wrong and Cristiano Ronaldo was right.
Yeah.
So when we're speaking about Portuguese fans, they seem to idolise their hero, yet a newspaper says that ultimately 70% of their readers don't want him playing inside the side. It's a story that's being made because Ronaldo puts himself in the way of a headline, because no one expects him to do a Brazilian samba when he comes off, and no one expects him to be thrilled. But there is not a necessity to do the things that he does. The manager's not going to get away with it, is he? He's going to have to address the issue of Ronaldo, because even if he didn't care about the gesticulations behind his back, someone in the media is going to care on his behalf.
Oh, so it's the media's job to put it to the manager. What did you think of Ronaldo coming off? Was it a strop, or does it show he's a winner?
Again, the manager has to now deal with it because somebody in the media has brought it to his attention. If he wanted to deal with it personally, he'd have dealt with it, not necessarily through the media, but he'll be forced to deal with it through the media because Ronaldo is such a story. Right, and with that in mind, it now becomes a problem.
To be honest, if I'll
leave off, Jim. If it was a Swiss player coming off the pitch, no one would pay any bleeding attention to it. It's because it's Ronaldo. Ronaldo's the headline, the focus.
The Swiss manager would be asked.
And there probably wouldn't even be cameras on the Swiss bench. There'd probably be more focus on somewhere else on the pitch. But Ronaldo is the ongoing story. And the tragedy of it is currently it seems to be a negative ongoing story. It seems to be, a degrading of the Ronaldo reputation. We're now moving into the territory.
He's doing pretty much a lot of that himself, isn't he?
Oh, no, that's my point.
Yeah.
That is precisely my point. He's the architect of his own derision, and that derision seems to be becoming more vociferous because you've got the issue with Ten Hag, and it wasn't his fault. Right, you've got the issue with Manchester United because nobody cared about him and the tragedies in his life. Now you've got him going off to Portugal, and now there's an issue with the fact that something's happening in the Portuguese camp. Now a newspaper in Portugal and of course the media in Portugal all against him, and I don't know why they would be, because he's been a national hero and produced significant outcomes for his country on a number of occasions. So I don't understand. Besides, perhaps sometimes it does exist, journalistic jealousy, but I shouldn't. Of course it does. We've seen articles written by journalists.
You name it. What member of the Portuguese media would be jealous of Ronaldo?
I can take you back to newspaper articles that are written about Marcus Rashford and his ownership of houses, and there was no reason for it. It was purely and simply journalistic, the politics of envy.